I now call to order the June 3rd, 2020 meeting of the Monroe County Board of Zoning Appeals. A roll call, Larry? Larry, you're muted.
Okay, Margaret Clements,
Here.
Bernie Garitas,
Here.
William Hosea,
Here.
Mary Beth Kamarchik,
Here.
Vicki Sorensen.
Here.
We have all 5 members and a quorum.
All right. Can I introduce the evidence, Larry? Thank you.
I request that the following items be introduced as evidence for tonight's meeting. Monroe County Comprehensive Plan as adopted and amended. Monroe County Zoning Ordinance as adopted and amended. The Monroe County Subdivision Ordinance as adopted and amended. The rules of procedure of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and the case is advertised and docketed for hearing on tonight's agenda. And I will go ahead and call the roll on that. Margaret Clemens,
Yes.
Bernie Garitas,
Yes.
William Hosea,
Yes.
Mary Beth Kamarchik,
Yes.
Vicki Sorensen.
Yes.
The evidence is admitted for tonight's meeting.
I'd like to move approval of tonight's agenda.
I second that.
Okay, I will call the roll on approval of tonight's agenda. The affirmative vote is to approve the agenda as published. Bernie Garitas,
Yes.
William Hosea,
Yes.
Mary Beth Kamarchik,
Yes.
Vicki Sorensen,
Yes.
Margaret Clements.
Yes.
The agenda is approved as presented.
I'd like to move approval of the minutes from the February 5th, 2020 meeting.
Second.
Okay, the vote is on approval of the minutes from the, what was the date on that? I'm sorry.
February.
I suggest 5th.
February 5th? Okay.
Yes.
Motion is to approve the minutes from the February 5th BZA meeting. A vote in favor is a vote to approve the minutes. William Hosea,
Yes.
Mary Beth Kamarchik,
Yes.
Vicki Sorensen.
I was not present.
Okay, Margaret Clemens,
Yes.
Bernie Garitas.
Yes.
Okay, the minutes are approved by a 4-0 vote with 1 abstention.
I move that we approve the March 4th minutes of the BZA meeting.
Have we done that already?
No.
No, we did February 5th because there are different members in attendance.
Roger.
Did we do that in April, though? I don't
Oh,
remember.
it's done?
It's not done yet, Larry.
Okay.
No, it was not done.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. It's been moved and second to approve the March BZA minutes. Vote in favor is vote to approve the minutes. William Hosea,
What month did we skip a meeting?
That was April.
April.
Okay, yes.
Mary Beth Kamarchik,
I wasn't here. Abstain.
okay. Vicki Sorensen,
Yes.
Margaret Clements,
Yes.
Bernie Garitas.
Yes.
The minutes are approved by 4 votes in favor and with 1 abstention.
Okay. I guess we're ready for old business. And that is, I'm sorry. Case number 2003-VAR-18.
I'm not sure if Ann has been able to join us. She does have Comcast, and so she may be having trouble getting on right away. I'm gonna go ahead and give her a call right now. So sorry about that, folks. I thought she was on. So let me call her and I'll mute myself for just a second. All right, I was unable to get a hold of Ann right away. I can cover it, or we can do one new business and come back to old business.
I suggest that we go ahead and move with the agenda the way it is, and I think we could probably get through it.
Okay. So I think that the main update on this home-based business variance was that, Bernie, last time you had some questions about where the trees were going to be located. And so I believe that that was the main difference that we were able to get worked out. So just as a reminder, this is a variance for screening for a home-based business tree service located off West Ratliff. And so condition 16 says that it must be screened from view. And so that's what we're getting a variance from for that purpose. So the board requested a map from the petitioner showing locations of tree plantings, and the petitioner is willing to plant 6 trees at the locations on the right. So we've kind of pinpointed those tree locations here on the map. And so the main update here is that we were able to figure out those locations of those trees in order to allow for that screening requirement, but also not interfering with other site constraints. And I know that the petitioner is on the line right now as well. And so I'm going to keep moving through, but this is the main map that was figured out. So again, this location is off of West Ratliff Road in Richland Township. And here's just some aerial imagery of the site itself. And it looks like the petitioner posted on here that parking of vehicles overnight and agricultural property mainly. And so they're able to meet all the other home-based business standards except for the screening, which is why they're here tonight. So here are some site photos again for your review. And so the main recommendation from staff is to approve the variance with conditions of plant 5 trees listed within table 30-5 in chapter 830. So I do believe, based on this map, it looks like the petitioner is planting 5 trees. So this might be a typo, but I also, like I said, the petitioner's on the line to correct me if I'm wrong here. So
I am. Ann told me 5, so what?
yeah, sorry, Josh. Yeah, 5:30. So what we'll do is, before we get to you, Josh, I just want to make sure that the BZA members just ask questions first, and then we'll come back to you for comment. Thank you.
No problem.
So does anyone have any questions? Mary Beth, you're muted.
Anyone have any questions?
I have a question, but I can wait if somebody else has questions.
The only question I have, this is Bernie, is just staff has reviewed the locations and they're satisfied.
Yes.
Okay.
This is the way that it was viewable from basically near the West Ratliff Road area. So these tree locations will help the screening of the vehicles from those directions.
Okay.
Any further questions of staff?
I have a question, and that has to do with at what point does a home-based business become light industrial?
It's a good question, Margaret. So this home-based business category is bound by a few different restrictions. So one of them is 2 employees on site. Another is screening, which you are providing a variance from, but we will have a site plan on file that documents the other screening that's required, and if it were removed, needed to be replaced. It also has some other conditions, such as the character of the neighborhood cannot change. And so if there were other conditions that the BZA wanted to place on this home-based business, that if they got beyond a certain point of capacity, that this site would no longer be able to provide for them, that's something that the BZA could do. We have had other tree services in the county apply for home-based businesses. And some sites have had to move because they have grown out of their agricultural zoned or residential zoned properties. And so it is something that we hope to address in the new ordinance, but there are other conditions that we could come back to and say you are no longer meeting these criteria and you must apply for another site to have this type of business use.
Does that answer?
Well, I appreciate your explanation, and we would like people to be successful and for their businesses to grow in the most organic way that can happen usually is when it starts at home and then develops to such an extent that it has to move, like you indicated, to another property. And I just wondered, is there ever is there anything that would encourage you to check back on the growth of the business to see if it's outgrown its home-based site?
That's a good question. We don't have a provision that sunsets the home-based business permit, but it is applicable to the business that they're applying for that is in question here. Typically, what makes us loop back to home-based businesses is neighbor complaints. So that's usually when we start looking at a property again and whether or not they're meeting those requirements. And then we have a process to revoke permits in our ordinance as well.
And one last question, and I think we covered this during our last meeting, but the home that is in front of the Ennis's home, is that owned by family currently?
That is my understanding, yes.
Okay, and then that brings about yet one more question, and that is, can this be subjected to review should that property change hands or something? Or no?
And we don't have a provision that we could really enforce in our ordinance, and I'm not sure if there would be a legal way of doing that. I would ask Dave that question. We do get a lot of complaints when there are new neighbors or properties recently sold. So it's a reoccurring thing that occurs in the county.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say that would not be a valid condition because it relates to ownership rather than land use. Anybody that subsequently purchases that will be, I guess, sort of walking into the situation and be completely visible to them. So it shouldn't be a surprise. But yeah, generally it have to be related to land use considerations and not ownership considerations.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions for staff? Seeing none, Mr. Enos, would you like to speak?
Unless y'all have some questions, I'm happy to answer them.
No, we don't have anybody have any questions? No? Okay, then anyone here wish to speak for the petition? Anyone here wish to speak against the petition? Jackie, I'm relying on you to let me know. Okay, I guess we're ready for a motion.
I don't see anyone in the chat at all, Mary Beth, so I think you're good. I don't see any hands raised.
Matter of case number 2003-2003-VAR-18. Request is a design standards variance for chapter 802 home-based business condition 16, which has to do with screening at 6675 West Ratliff Road. I move that we grant the variance with based on the findings in the staff report with the condition that the petitioner plant 5 trees listed within chapter 830, table 30-5 or 30-6, consistent with what the diagram that he provided staff for this meeting.
I'll second.
Okay. You want to call the roll?
Yes, the vote is on petition number 2003-VAR-18, Enos Home-Based Business Permitted Development Standards Variance from Condition 16 of the ordinance in regarding the home-based business in regard to outdoor storage screening requirement. The motion is made subject to the following condition, that the petitioner plant 5 native trees listed within Chapter 830, Table 30-5 or 30-6. Again, a vote in favor is a vote to grant the development standards variance with the conditions stated. Mary Beth Marchek,
Yes.
Vicky Sorensen,
Yes.
Bart Clemens,
Yes.
Bertie Garitas,
Yes.
William Hosea.
Yes.
The variance is approved 5-0.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for
Thank you
joining
all.
us.
Appreciate it.
You have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
Okay, next up, we have a case number 2003-VAR-19 and 2003-VAR-19A. I'd like to take a moment to remind anybody who is not speaking to please mute their selves. Thank you. Drew?
All right, thank you. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so this is the Holes Apple side yard setback variance and the Holes Apple minimum lot width variance from Chapter 804. The petitioner requests 2 design standards variances, one from the side yard setback requirement and one from the minimum lot width requirement. It's for the existing 2,862 square foot residential accessory structure with a 612 square foot deck on the property. In June 2019, the Monroe County Planning Department contacted the petitioner with respect to violations of the Monroe County zoning ordinance at the petition site. At some point between 2006 and 2010, the existing pole barn on the petition site had received new additions and had been converted from a single family residence to a single family residence, without the permits or approvals. An order was obtained from the Board of Commissioners in November of 2019, directing the planning office to take all necessary actions to bring the petition site into compliance. And the following actions were communicated to the petitioner to bring the use and development of the property into compliance. Go ahead to the next page. Thanks, Jackie. Number 1 was decommission the single family residence illegally converted by the February 4th, 2020 deadline. This use was not permitted. Proof of decommissioning and required permits were to be submitted. The petitioner did meet that deadline. This number 2 was submit for an after the fact improvement location permit in order to keep the addition to the accessory structure or apply for a demolition permit to remove the unpermitted portion of the building. The petitioner also met that deadline as well. So then later, for the improvement location permit, the petitioner submitted a survey, and it showed the additions to the building that were made without permits that do not meet the side yard setback. So again, the petitioner was given 2 options based on the survey information. It was apply for variances or file for an administrative subdivision to fix the deed gap that would fix the side yard setback as well. The petitioner elected to do the variance because it would be a little bit easier than having to do more survey work and title work for this petition site. Go ahead to the next one, Jackie. Thank you. Okay, so if both variances are approved, the improvement location permit can be issued and the petitioner can retain the additions that were made to the accessory structure. But if either variance is denied, the petitioner must decommission the additions that were made without permits or approvals or seek an administrative subdivision process to fix that deed gap that I spoke about earlier. We'll take a look at the survey that was submitted that shows the deed gap later in this presentation. Okay, so next slide. Okay, so the location is at 8150 and 8023 South Old State Road 37. It's in Clear Creek Township, Section 17. Both of the, you'll see two outlines here of parcels. Those are actually one parcel of record. The smaller parcel was made for tax purposes at some point. It's also zoned agricultural rural reserve, and the comp plan, excuse me, comp plan has it designated as rural residential. Okay, so site conditions, we'll go over these. The site has access and frontage on South Old State Road 37. The petition site consists of both of these parcels, contains an approximate 1,050 square foot duplex, and the larger parcel contains an approximate 2,862 square foot residential accessory structure with a 612 square foot deck. The site does exhibit slopes greater than 15%, which are primarily located in the middle of the property, as you can see by the slope map. And there is no FEMA floodplain or karst or other unique conditions that were visible on the site. And the site drains east and south and southeast. Next slide, please. Okay, so here we have some site photos. This is an aerial pictometry of the site. So you can see the duplex there in the western side of the photograph. And then the accessory structure that was converted to a single family residence that also received additions is in the middle of the picture here. Some site photographs. You can see the driveway cut here on South Old State Road 37. Next. So here are some pictures of the accessory structure that was converted to a single family residence without the proper permits or approvals. When the petitioner was asked to decommission the use as a single family residence, they did provide an affidavit of that decommissioning and also submitted photographs of removal of bathroom fixtures and water connections. So here's the side yard setback in question for this variance petition. More photographs here of the residential accessory structure as it is classified now with the decommissioning. More photographs, and then another angle of the side yard setback requirement. Okay, so here's the submitted site survey. You can notice that there is a deed gap between the petition site and the property to the north. That was one of the alternative methods of the side yard setback variance, at least, was to repair that deed gap line or figure out, history of that. But here we are tonight for the side yard setback and the minimum lot width. Okay, here's the enforcement letter. This is all in your packet. And then here is the decommissioning plan and affidavit of completed work. And then following this slide is the pictures of the decommissioned work, and that was done per the requirements of the enforcement. So overall, planning staff recommends approval of both the design standards variances, chapter 804, for the side yard setback and the minimum lot width based on the findings of fact and subject to the Monroe County Highway and Drainage Engineer reports, which we received no comment. I will now take any questions.
Any questions for staff?
I have a question. Is this property for sale? Because I see a for sale sign in front of it.
I am not aware of that. I know that the petitioner is here on the line, so they might be able to answer that question for you.
Okay.
I am the trustee for the property. This is where my parents lived. They are both deceased.
Mr. Holzapple, could you hold on just one moment for us? Okay. More questions for staff? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Holzapple, can I swear you in, please?
Yes.
Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir. You may proceed.
I am the trustee. Both of my parents are deceased. The goal is to sell the property.
Thank you.
Any more questions for Mr. Holzapfel? Mr. Holzapfel, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Anyone else here would like to speak on behalf of this petition? Anyone here that wishes to speak against this petition? Seeing none, I'll call for a motion.
Okay,
Are
I
you
can do
muted?
that.
Oh, go ahead, Bernie.
I'm looking for the petition number. Give me just a second, please. Okay. In the matter of case number 2003-VAR-19 and 2003-VAR-19A, design standards variance from chapter 804 side yard setback, design standards variance chapter 804 minimum lot width at 8150 and 8023 Old State Road 37. I move that we approve the variance for both within the petition based on the findings of fact found in the staff report. And I don't see any other conditions listed. So,
Subject to the Monroe County Highway to your drainage. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one.
yeah, I think I'm okay with that.
Oh, no, I mean, there's a subject to on the recommendation.
Okay, subject to the Monroe County Highway Drainage Engineering reports on both of those. That's fine.
Okay. You want to second that motion?
Second.
Okay, Larry, please call the roll.
Okay. The vote is on petitions 2003-VR-19 and 19A, the Holzapfel side yard development standards variance and the Holzapfel minimum lot size variance request, respectively. Vote in favor is the vote to grant both variances based upon the findings and subject to the Monroe County Highway and Drainage Engineers reports. Vicky Sorensen,
Yes.
Bart Clements,
Yes.
Rudy Garitas,
Yes.
William Hosea,
Yes.
Mary Beth Marchek.
Yes.
Okay, the variances are granted by a 5-0 vote.
Thank you, Mr. Holzapfel. You have a good evening, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have case number 2005-VAR-26 and 2005-VAR-27. Drew?
Okay. Can you guys hear me okay? Is my connection doing all right?
We can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So this is the GEF minimum lot size variance and GEF front yard setback variance. The petitioner is requesting 2 design standards variances. It's for the purposes of constructing a 960 square foot pole style garage on the property. The minimum lot size requirement for property in the Ag RR zoning district is 2.5 acres. And this petition site contains only 1.36 acres. And additionally, the front yard setback for property in the Ag RR zone that where there is no direct frontage is 50 feet. And the location of this proposed garage style, pole style garage, is approximately 33 feet from the southern property line. So that would be an encroachment of 17 feet. Okay, so it's located at 6879 North Red Hill Road in Bleeding Blossom Township, Section 33. Currently zoned agriculture rural reserve, and the comprehensive plan has it designated as rural residential. Some site conditions. It's predominantly flat with access and frontage off of North Red Hill Road, a local road. FEMA floodplain, karst, and other unique conditions are not present on the site. An existing overhead power line travels through the property in a northeast-southwest direction through the pole of this flag lot, so it will not affect any of the proposed construction. And the site drains north, northwest, and northeast. So here we have some aerial photography of the petition site. The proposed garage structure will be located to the south of the existing single-family residence. We'll look at a site plan that was submitted by the petitioner in a little while here that will show that in more detail. With no direct frontage of this property line, it's a 50-foot setback. So 50 feet is pretty steep for that area. And by placing the pole style garage there, it would encroach into that setback area. Looking at these pictures, you can kind of notice how the driveway is positioned. So there really isn't any other feasible location for a garage other than that side of the home. So here we have the petitioner's letter that outlines their reasoning for these two variances. It's also in your packet. And here is the submitted site plan by the petitioner. It's kind of hard to see because of the red print here, but the pole style garage, yeah, it's right there where the cursor is. It's being proposed to be located there. It will be away from the septic field, and it will be in that 50-foot front setback as required by the Agri-R zoning district. So overall, staff recommends approval of both design standards variance, chapter 804 for the minimum lot size and the front yard setback based on the findings of fact and subject to the Monroe County Highway and Drainage Engineer reports.
Any questions for staff? No questions for staff? Okay. Is the petitioner here?
I am.
You are, sir. Would you like to say anything?
I really don't have much to say other than I just want to use the building for storage for like a livestock trailer and, lawn equipment, things like that. Don't have any other grand plans for it. Talked to all my neighbors, had to send them a letter as well, but I went and talked to them to explain exactly what I'm doing. Everybody seemed to be supportive.
Okay, thank you, sir. Anybody has any questions for the petitioner?
Mary Beth, do you want to swear the petitioner in?
Yeah, I probably should, since you did speak a little bit. Do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you, sir. Now, are there any questions for the petitioner? Okay. Anyone here to speak on behalf of this petition? Anyone here to speak? Anyone here wish to speak against this petition?
I'm not seeing anything in the chat or from anyone on the call.
Okay, would somebody like to make a motion?
Sure, I can do that.
Thank you.
Case 2005 VAR-26 and 2005-VAR-27 for design standards variance, chapter 804 minimum lot size and design standards variance, chapter 804 front yard setback at 6879 North Hill Road. I recommend approval based subject to Monroe County Highway and Drainage Engineer reports.
Bernie, your second was muted. Okay, yeah, Margaret's got it.
Okay, would please call the roll, Larry?
I do have a question for the petitioner. How do you prefer your name to be pronounced?
It's pronounced golf, just like cough, except with a G.
Goff. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, the vote is on petition 2003-VR-26 and 27. Goffman, lot size variance and front yard variance. Vote in favor is a vote to approve both variances based upon the findings of fact and subject to Monroe County Highway and Drainage Engineers reports. Margaret Clemens,
Yes.
Rudy Garitas,
Yes.
William Hosea,
Yes.
Mary Beth Marchuk,
Yes.
Vicky Sorensen.
Yes.
Okay, the both variances are granted by a 5-0 vote.
Thank you, Mr. Goff. You have a good evening.
Thank you.
Next up, we have case number 2005-VAR-28. Ann?
You hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So this property is located at 7050 South Harmony Road in Indian Creek. Thank you. So it's currently zoned agricultural reserve, and the comprehensive plan designates it as rural residential, and then eventually rural reserve from Makua 2. The property is 2.55 acres. So this is a variance from Chapter 804 front yard setback. The purpose of the variance is to allow the petitioner to construct a 56 by 24 foot pole barn to be located within 15 feet within a 15-foot setback instead of the required 35 setback from the right of way. So the majority of the property is located is more than 16 to 18% slope. So the petitioner is proposing an area that's just outside of the slope, but close to the home, and majority of buildable area, but is within the setback from South Harmony Road. So the encroachment for the front setback would be approximately 20 feet into the setback. A small shed is currently in the proposed location of the pole barn. If the variance is approved, the shed will either be removed or relocated with proper permits if necessary. So approval of the variance would be to allow the construction of a pole barn within 15 feet of the front yard setback. Yeah, really, it's because of the excessive amount of slope. Oh yes, thank you. There was a letter of support from a neighbor. It came in just a little bit later. I wasn't able to get it in the packet, but was able to show it in the slide. So at least one neighbor is in, adamant support. Are there any questions?
Any questions for staff? Would the petitioner like to speak?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Anyone else here want to speak on behalf of the petition? Besides, we have this lovely letter. Anyone here wish to speak against the petition? Okay, let's hear
I'm
them.
not seeing anyone.
Somebody want to make a motion? Hello?
Yeah, I can. Let me get up to the screen there. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. In the matter of case number 2005-VAR-28, Taylor front yard setback variance from chapter 804. I move that we approve the variance based on the staff report, findings of fact within, and subject to the recommendations and requirements of the Monroe County drainage engineer and staff. How'd I do, Margaret?
Don't think we need
I
to,
second that. I second that. Thank you so much for doing that. You always step up. Thank you.
okay. Like to call the roll, Larry, please?
Okay, the vote is on petition number 2005-VR-28, Taylor Front Yard Variance Standard Request from Chapter 804 Standards for 7050 South Harmony. The vote to, affirmative vote is a vote to approve the variance based upon findings. Bernie Garitas,
Yes.
William Hosea,
Yes.
Mary Beth Marchek,
Yes.
Vicky Sorensen,
Yes.
Fred Clements.
Yes.
The variance is granted by a 5-0 vote.
All right, thank you. You have a good day, sir.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, any reports?
I will just update you. We are still somewhat unsure exactly what our July meeting will look like, whether it will be in person or on Zoom or a little of both. But we'll let you know as soon as possible. Am I correct in that, Dave? Is that the situation?
Yeah, I'm not aware of any order extending the
Right.
emergency, so.
Okay. In person with mask. Okay, anything else, anybody?
I move that we adjourn.
I second that.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you. Bye.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Thank you.